Here's one of the biggest questions to me in the sport this year. How are we going to feel about USC and Lincoln Riley in December? So the whole season's happened. How do you think you'll feel? How will I feel? This is very open ended because it could go a number of different ways. I've got three legs of concern here. The first is just on field. So I have on field concern. How are you going to play this season? I've got recruiting concern, which is ramped up significantly in the past couple of weeks. And I've got program stability concerns. Let me hit all of them for just a second here. The on field's obvious. They start with LSU, and then it's the first year in the Big Ten after that. So they got a game at Michigan in week 3. They got Wisconsin a week later, a very, very rapidly ascending Wisconsin program. They got Penn State coming in there in October. They have got a game at Washington. They've got Notre Dame later in the year. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Ohio State. So they could go 7-5, or they could make the Big Ten championship game, depending on how much that defense progresses. So that's the on-field piece. Their over-under win total 7.5, but maybe they overachieve, according to odds makers. Maybe that happens. That's only part of it. If they go 9-3 or 10-2, I'd feel good about the on-field part come December. Recruiting is another thing. We weren't just guessing when I did that segment 3 weeks ago. I think most of you picked up on that. I mentioned 3 names. 2 of them immediately decommitted. Had a little heads up that was coming. The third's still there for now. So Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson, the 2 big-time 5-star defensive linemen, and I think one of them's an edge, they've both decommitted. It was going to be tough to hang on to them. Juju Lewis, the quarterback, is still committed for now, but I mean, every day I look at the kid's social media, he's posting pictures wearing someone's shirt other than USC, so who knows what's going to happen there. The class is ranked 24th right now. How are they going to finish this cycle? In fact, what does the program project to be as a recruiting outfit over the next 3 years? Good, really good, great, elite? Where's it going to be? Which leads me to the third part. So, we've never had Lincoln Riley on the show. I don't think I've ever spoken to Lincoln Riley in my life, so I'm certainly not carrying water for Lincoln Riley here. I will say, when I get feedback from people around the USC program, it's almost like they say, you got a minute? When they're trying to describe what it's like around there, you got a minute? My whole thing with USC is you need to act like USC. So, USC was thought to be one of the big players. When you find out the portal is going to overlap with NIL, do you remember how big a giant people thought USC was going to be? Because you just, Hollywood, Southern California in the NIL era. Think about what we can sell. Well, that's great. That looks good on marketing materials. But if you don't have your you-know-what together behind the scenes, if you don't have the right people making decisions, I ain't talking about the head coach there. I'm talking about the people above the head coach. If you don't have that in order, if you don't have your finances in such a way, if you don't have your donor class equipped to participate in such a way that it leverages NIL, what in the world does NIL mean as it relates to USC? So I look at USC right now, and I look at these other big-time programs. I don't think USC is anywhere close to touching what Texas is or what Ohio State is behind the scenes. Oregon, they could not tote Oregon's jock in NIL right now. And the reason is not because they're poor or they're broke, quite the opposite. It's just because you take for granted that, well, once NIL is a part of the equation, USC will dominate. No, they won't. USC won't do anything without acting like USC. I don't mean act like USC as of recent. I mean act like USC that I knew when I was growing up. Pete Carroll, USC. Terrified, scared to death, like pee down the side of your leg when you see them line up across from you, USC. That's the USC I grew up watching. It hadn't meant that in a long time. I readily will admit to you, I look around and like this era should be in USC's wheelhouse. Look at what Texas is doing. USC ought to be what Texas is. Texas is just skyrocketing. Why? Because, well, number one, they're fully aligned behind the scenes, and I don't want to just overlook that because alignment is the name of the game. But then number two, they've realized, wow, like everything about the sport's built for us right now. It's a launching pad. Let's just position ourselves on it. There's the launching pad at USC, too, and everyone's standing over there going, I don't know. Well, get out of the room then. Get someone in the room that does know. So I am hard on USC sometimes. Casuals mistake that as me hating on USC when it's the total opposite. I'd love for them to be dominant again. I'd love for them to be elite. They're not going to be at this rate because they don't have themselves in line administratively. And I don't think they have themselves in line top to bottom as a program. That program extends so far beyond just the players and the coaches. I mean, if I'm the head coach there, one of the first things that you do if you take over a job, one of the first things you do is you're introduced to like 10 to 20 people who are the difference makers in that market and in your program. It doesn't matter if you're the head coach at Clemson or at USC. It's the same way. Some places, those people are just all singing from the same hymnal, and it sounds great because when everyone's singing from the same hymnal, it's just one universal chorus, and at that point, you're just a freight train with 100 cars moving the same direction. Other places, it's disjointed, and some alto thinks he's a soprano, and this dude over here should just be mopping the floors, but he's trying to sing baritone. And then my best singers don't even have their mouths open, and that's kind of USC behind the scenes right now. So Lincoln Riley can't talk like that because he'll sound like a whiner if he does. I will. I'll say it for him. So, yeah, it's okay. Lincoln Riley's the face of the program. And he bears the brunt of the criticism, and he makes a whole lot of money, and so that comes with the territory. Having said that, is it totally fair to criticize the guy when he doesn't get what was kind of pitched to him as the reason to come to USC? It is my belief he doesn't have all of that in line right now behind the scenes.